Power Breakfast. Top talk of the morning.
The time is 7:12 here on Power Breakfast this morning with Tessa Dooms. And back we come to the city of Joburg. It's governance or misgovernance on the table once again. The organization Undoing Tax Abuse has been on this story with other people, the Joburg Crisis Alliance, around Helen Boertes particularly, and the role that Helen Boertes has been said to have played by the Competition Commission around the Usindiso fire. How do we start getting accountability, I think, is the big question on the table now. And we have with us Outa's advocate Stephanie Fick, just to give us the background of the story. Where does Helen Boertes fit into the story of the city of Joburg and particularly the Joburg fire? Morning, Advocate Fick.
Good morning, Tessa. How are you?
I'm tough. How are you doing?
I can't complain. I like the word, by the way. I think you have coined a word that is so fitting to this whole debacle, is misgovernance. Love that word.
And so where does Helen Boertes, who is she and where does she fit into the story of the Joburg fire?
Well, if you read the campaign and you read what has happened there, she is directly responsible for what has happened with the Usindiso building. So what the campaign report, for example, found is that they knew. So if I say they, the JPC is a company that belongs to the City of Joburg, and they manage all the property of the City of Joburg. And Helen Boertes was the CEO. Now, as the CEO, management responsible for, the day-to-day tasks of what JPC should do, knew since 2019 that hijacked building was never zoned for people living there. It was if I'm not mistaken, was business. So it wasn't zoned for living conditions. The conditions inside that building was appalling. There was no, it was a fire hazard. None of the regulations, bylaws that is applicable was abided by. And they knew this since 2019. The fire broke out in August of 2023 and cost the lives of 76 vulnerable people. And what Outa has done is now brought a delinquency application because we say, as a director, as a person responsible, Helen Boertes should be declared a delinquent director. And with that, she should be held accountable for her actions.
I'm going to bring in now the caucus leader for the DA in the city of Joburg, Belinda, Kayser-Echeozonjoku, just to also give your view on what is at play here. Because we, of course, know that Helen Boertes is now, liable just in terms of that report. But what has been done within the city's processes? Because Outa's taking this one to the legal sphere, but what's happening in terms of political accountability, Belinda?
Good morning, Tessa, and good morning to the listeners. I just want to say that we really welcome the efforts from Outa as well, from the Democratic Alliance side and the City of Joburg side. What we've done, obviously, we've initially written countless letters to the city, who's just ignored some of the concerns and the questions we've raised inside council. So we've also not only dealt with the issue of the Usindiso building, but based on previous PPE corruption from Ms. Helen Boertes and some other officials within the JPC, we've seen a pattern of total disregard for, governance and proper administration within the JPC. So what we've done is that we've taken the SIU report on the PPE corruption, and we've opened a case of, we've asked for a criminal case to be opened of fraud, corruption and possible money laundering. And we've also opened a case of culpable homicide against Ms. Helen Boertes, as ultimately the accounting officer who was supposed to have ensured that the buildings that they are the custodians of are not only taken care of but also maintained as per the city standard. And we've seen reports, not only in 2019, there's a problem property report, but also previously of total just negligence of the city's buildings and other, even land, open pieces of land and things like that within the city. But so we've opened a case of culpable homicide against her, and we've obviously welcomed this, Outa's action as well.
So you've taken this on as the DA in terms of opening that criminal case of culpable homicide, which I think is quite an extraordinary step. But it would seem warranted that if somebody is held accountable or told to be liable for the deaths of people, that is the action to be taken. But in terms of the politics of this, Belinda, it does seem that Helen Botha has been able to escape accountability internal to the system. She's right now, I would presume, in an even more powerful position than she was before. Is she not?
What I can tell you is we've received notification from the police and from the Hawks that they've, at least on one of the cases that they have prepared, they're ready. They've taken it to the NPA for, a decision to prosecute. And one of the things that we have raised with the city, with the SAPS when we opened the case, is the fact that even with the whistleblowers that have brought information to us, have told us that Helen Botha and some of these officials at JPC had allegedly told them that nothing will happen to the case. So we have put that on record to say that that is what we were told by, these allegations are what we were told by the whistleblowers. So we'll have to see whether the state institutions and the police is worth its salt, if that is what we are being told as politicians when we take on people into the justice system and see whether they're held accountable. What is concerning about what you're saying as well is that yesterday we've written to the MEC with regards to the fact that Helen Botha's contract. We've seen minutes from the board that they've extended her contract, which we believe is in violation of the Municipal Structures Act, because she should have been out of the system already last year's September. And her contract has just been extended. And obviously the DA had written to the MEC of Cllr, and we've also written recently because we got information that her contract has been extended again on a month-to-month basis. It was quite disappointing yesterday to get a letter from the MEC to inform us that he can't intervene, and it sits with the City of Johannesburg. And we're saying where there is violation, surely the MEC of Cllr can intervene. So it's a concerning situation. We're monitoring whether what we were told by these whistleblowers, the allegation, whether there is protection from national or other political figures. We don't know at this stage. These are allegations, but it is a concern that it looks as she is completely untouchable because they've alleged this as well, that she says she's untouchable.
Yeah, no, we've heard that word a few times as it relates to Helen Botha over the years, those of us who've been following Joburg closely. But Advocate Fick, this is part of the reason why you've taken the kind of action that you have. This is not the first time that you have taken an action around delinquent directorship when it comes to particular individuals. We saw this with the now late Dudu Miene when she was at SAA. At that point, though, she was part of the board. Helen Botha is not part of a board. She is part of the executive. Does the same thing apply for somebody who's a board member vis-a-vis somebody who's part of the executive? Advocate Fick? Oh, I think we might have lost Advocate Fick there on that question, but I think it would be good to know and understand if there's going to be a real repercussion here if the delinquent directorship does go through. I think we have Advocate Fick back. Advocate Fick, I don't know if you heard what I asked.
Yes, I did hear. It is about whether one can bring a delinquency application against Helen Botha. So what is, as long as you are part of the board, so although Helen Botha is a CEO, she's ex officio because of the fact that she's a CEO. She is part of the board, and therefore we can go against her. What is very interesting, and the difference between, I think, maybe the late Dudu Mnyeni and Helen Botha is Dudu Mnyeni, as the board chair at that stage, did all these things and was very operational. So she actually usurped sort of the doings of a CEO. With Helen Botha, you have a CEO that is part of the board because they're a CEO, but then was also directly involved as the CEO in for example, the Usindiso fire, and that is why we want the court to declare her a delinquent and then a delinquent for life. And although there is only part of the accountability that Helen Botha should face, I agree with you wholeheartedly that something like culpable homicide, delinquency, and all of that should be used in order to hold people to account, is that this will mean she cannot sit on any board, and specifically an SOE. The private sector is sometimes corrupt, and maybe more corrupt than our SOEs. But, we are concerned about SOEs because this is where money is wasted, and that by bringing the delinquency application will hopefully mean, and if we are successful, that she will not sit on any board. She will not be a CEO of the next SOE in future.
Belinda, one last question before we go. Helen Botha has survived multiple administrations, and so when you talk about possible political protection, where would that be coming from? Which political party here are we alleging is protecting her? Because she has survived even DA administrations in those roles. Are we talking here about a political deployee that is being protected, or are we talking about somebody who is gaming the system?
Let me say it's a mixture of both. We all know that Helen Botha is an ANC cadre, and the ANC has over the years put their cadres in the system and ensured that certain interests are protected. One of the reasons why we have written, just to take a step back, we've also written to the president a while back to request that JPC be investigated for maladministration, corruption, and possible fraud over the past 10 years that Ms. Botha was at the helm. What had happened when the DA was in government, and this is as far back as 2016, Helen Botha was placed on suspension at the time when the PPE corruption came. When we were voted out, the system, the ANC ensured that she gets brought back, reports are brought to council, and they get a legal opinion they'll get a legal opinion that exonerated her. And one of the reasons why we opened the case is because we believe that there's precedence that a SIU case and findings cannot be overruled by simply a legal opinion. We believe she should have gone to court and use that in court, and it's because there's precedence for that.
So steps were taken then, it just wasn't able to go far enough. But it raises the question, are we dealing with political or bureaucratic incompetence, or are we dealing here with political incompetence in terms of political deployees and cadre deployment? That is the case of Helen Botha. Which one is it? Maybe it's a little bit of both.